Welcome to the Profile Pod TV. I'm your host, Andy Anatomical, and excited to be here as always on this special edition of the Profile Pod. Yes, we typically record on Thursday, but today we decided to do something special. We have a very special guest, and hey, what's wrong with doing something a little different, out of the ordinary? You know, to kind of break the monotony. And so we're here in the pod. Excited as always on this nice Sunday evening in Southern California. Before we get to our guest and we start everything, a couple of shout outs. I want to thank General Public Podcast, Bam Bam from General Public Podcast, been very supportive of us, of this podcast, as well as 90s Galore. So thank you, Bam Bam. I'm looking forward to having you on here. I know we've discussed, but things are still in the works. We'll get you on here. And just a general shout out to everybody on Instagram who shows us love. A lot of interaction every day with the listeners on Instagram, and you guys are awesome. So that's always enjoyable to see the fruits of your labor with everybody being so supportive and giving you positive feedback, and that's always great. So I want to thank everybody on Instagram there, all the followers on 90s Galore, and as well as obviously Profile Pod TV. So let's continue to help each other out, support each other's podcasts, endeavors, and what have you. If you want to come on the Profile Pod, DM me. Okay, if you want to showcase your talents, maybe you have a podcast, maybe you have your own business, you're a small business owner, and maybe you're an actor, musician, record producer, whatever, something exciting, something unique. We want you on this show. So as you can see there on the ticker, shoot me a DM or an email, and we'll get you on here. Okay. So again, this is why I'm here. I want to serve others and help them out. So the last couple of weeks, we had some really good guests, and we want to continue to do that, as tonight we have another special guest in store. So let's continue to move forward. So once again, thank you, everybody, and we appreciate that. So let's shift gears now into and move on with the show here on Profile Pod TV. We have a very special guest. This gentleman has been on the 90s Galore several times, and he was on Profile Pod TV a couple weeks ago with his daughter to showcase Two Beans Quarantine podcast. And, tonight he is here to talk about his new endeavor, his latest endeavor, our friend of the show, and his first time appearance on Profile Pod TV. And we're excited to have Mr. Eddie Perez. How are you doing, sir?
Great, Andy. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, man. No. Thank you, Eddie. It's always a pleasure, man. It's always fun to have you on, man, because I know we always have a good laugh, man.
We chop it up pretty good, don't we?
We do chop it up very well, man. No matter where we're at and whatever setting we're at, we always have a good laugh. We always have a good conversation, man. It's always enjoyable for me, and so I'm really glad you're here, man. What's going on with you? What's been up with you?
Oh man, a bunch of different things, a bunch of irons in the fire, as they say. But Lily and I finished a pod today for Two Beans Quarantine, where we had Jennifer on celebrating Mother's Day. So yeah, it was our Mother's Day special, we called it. And Lily got to interview Mom, and yeah, man, it was fun. But we've got a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, with the quarantine, we're all still in the house. We're doing school. We're doing work, all from this compound. So yeah, man, we're busy. We're busy, as I imagine you are too.
Oh man, yeah. We were talking earlier. It's it's like you would think, we're staying home all day, nothing to do. Just kind of. Yeah, things are rolling, man, and
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man, I can't. You mentioned your podcast with Lily,
yeah,
and I can't wait to hear that with Jan coming on.
It's been a blast, man. It's been really cool. Like we had Adrian, my nephew Adrian, on, and we interviewed him, and he did a performance, and we were able to get him to play his guitar and play a song, and Last week we had Tony, who's been a frequent guest on 90s Galore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he came on last week. So we just finished 7 episodes. I mean, 7 weeks of this quarantine and trying to get Lily's perspective and match it with what we've got going on and stuff like that. But it's been a blast doing it with her.
Oh, wow, that's great, man.
Yeah.
I'm behind. You've had a few episodes where you brought on Tony, and they're already published.
They're in there. Yeah, they're published.
Oh.
We're trying to be regular. We're trying to do every week. During this quarantine, we said that we were going to recap the week and things that we did, and so far 7 weeks in, we're still doing it. And so today was just our Mother's Day special. It just so happens that our podcast, recording day happened on Mother's Day, and Jennifer was all game, and she wanted to come on, and so that was fun.
Wow, man, that's great. I can't wait to listen to those. I got to catch up. So, I thought I subscribed. I got to check. I got to double check, man.
Well, we finally got on Apple Podcasts. So
okay.
That was something I kind of had to work on a little bit because at first I thought Anchor kind of did that automatically, but then it was just a real quick fix. Like it was just a matter of submitting it with Apple, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll double check it, but it only took like a day, and they were like, yeah, you're live. So.
Sweet.
If you go on Apple Podcasts and search up Two Beans Quarantine, you'll see a picture of me and Lil, and there's 7 episodes right there ready to go.
Sweet, man. I got to double check that. Yeah. I was thinking back when I first got on with Anchor. Maybe I forgot or something, but I was under the impression that it was an automatic submission to Apple Podcasts, but maybe they changed protocol or something in the last year or so. But I'm glad to hear that you're back on. You're on Apple Podcasts now, and that's great, man. Are you on Spotify, by the way?
I am. We are on, I believe, 8 different platforms.
Yeah.
So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts,
Stitcher,
Pocket Cast. Yeah.
Pocket Cast.
Yeah. So it's really exciting because so far we've had over, I guess, 200 listens. We've had people down in Mexico send us notes. They're like, we love your podcast, and so it's just fun. We're looking to explore more things. I think right now it's really hard because we are limited somewhat. We're trying to add more production value. You know what I mean? But it's hard because with everything else going on, it's hard to edit those things all together and make a complete show. But we're doing our best. We're learning. So
definitely, man. No, you guys sound great. Everything sounds great. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, it's like anything. As you go, as you begin to evolve and grow and learn. So, but you guys, like I said, man, you guys are doing a great job. You guys are having fun. You could tell.
Yeah, it's a blast, man.
I know Lily enjoys it, man. I'm trying to get, Peyton on, and I told her, hey, Lily came on my podcast a couple of weeks ago when you guys came on, and thinking that would kind of motivate her and entice her to get on mine, and she won't budge, dude. She just has no interest. Neither does Renee.
Yeah. And it's an interesting thing because even Jen and I were talking about it today, and it was like, I was like, hey, thank you for giving me Lily, and she's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, she's the only one that would do a podcast with me.
Yeah, man.
So it's fun though, man. I like having that weekly check-in with Lily. It's fun, and if we're able to kind of get some entertainment out of it for other people, then we're all for it. So
it definitely works, man. It definitely works. Yeah. I can't get my kids have no interest, man. And but what about Luke, man? Has he made another appearance?
He has not. He has just been. What he's into right now a lot is he's out scooting quite a bit. He's into scootering, and yeah, dude. I don't know. All of a sudden, him and his buddies got these really cool scooters that are they're different. It's not like razor scooters anymore. These are like trick scooters. Yeah. Oh. And so he's into that right now. But the kid is 5'10" almost. He's he's an athlete, so whatever he wants to do, I mean, I'm like, go for it, just get out there.
I haven't seen those scooters, man.
Oh yeah, dude. These dudes that are doing flips and shit on it. It's pretty cool.
Jeez, man. Yeah. Hey, but is Luke? Is he hitting the weights at all? I know he's gonna be playing football next year, right?
Yeah, he actually is. Ryan has motivated him to start like a workout regimen where they're building on his vertical, speed, all that kind of stuff, using mostly like his own body weight to try and like just kind of thin out a little bit because he wants to be a tight end.
Okay.
He's got good hands. I kind of see him more as a defensive end, kind of like his Uncle Andy, but we'll see, man. I mean, we'll see what kind of sticks. I know he's excited about playing football though, man. He's pumped about it. He's pumped about going out for basketball. He played soccer his whole life, but he's looking at his body going, I don't know, Dad. I might be better fit for football.
Yeah, right. Exactly,
yeah.
man.
Because I know Renee played soccer for years, right?
He played for about 4 or 5 years when he was a kid, man. I mean, real small, up until he was, I want to say 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And before he completely went exclusively football, but man, soccer did wonders for his footwork, his endurance, speed, and really, I was really glad that he played football or soccer, early on. But yeah, I think Luke, I think he's played soccer for what? I mean, how many years now?
Well, since he was 3, he started playing. Yeah, he started playing soccer since he was 3, and he played up until like last year. Last year he was playing on a club team, and he had like a growth spurt, and it kind of slowed him down, because he was like a little clumsy.
Yeah.
So he just kind of got discouraged and stuff, but yeah, I mean, he started playing basketball, and he's a really good basketball player now too. So yeah, I mean, just he's just staying busy, man. He's doing a little bit of everything. So I love that about him.
That's great, man. He's very active. Sounds like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. So
for sure.
Yeah, our kids are. Before you know it, man, he's gonna be like bench pressing you and stuff. You know what I mean?
He's gonna be big. He's gonna be tall.
That's great,
so
man. I can't wait.
We'll see what sticks.
yeah, right, man. And by the way, man, I'm looking at myself in the camera here on the screen, and
what happened?
As you can see, my Addie, my 3-year-old, decided to take her boot, the sole of her. She has these little boot.
No way.
She has these little Anna boots, or is it Anna
or Elsa? One of the two.
Anna's the brunette, right? Yeah, it's Anna. Anna, she wears the darker the costume or
good sister.
Wardrobe, attire, whatever you want to call it, in the movie. And we were kind of roughhousing a little bit. And she decided to take the boot of her, or the sole of her boot, her little Anna boot. It's boom. Next thing I'm like, what are you doing, man? And I heard at the moment, it hurt when it happened.
Yeah.
So we stopped playing, and then Samantha's like, I walk downstairs. Samantha's like, "What? Why are you bleeding?" Yeah,
you
man.
got blood coming down your face.
Yeah, I literally did. Man. I had like a little drip going down. I'm like, holy man.
Look, I don't know Addie that well. I don't know Addie that well, but I would not mess with Addie. Like, she looks like she can kick some butt, dude.
She like surprised me on that one, man. Anyways, man. But
cover it up, dude.
Our kids have to. Yeah, bro. We got to protect ourselves from our kids once in a while. Shit.
For real, man. For real. Like,
man.
Luke wants to roughhouse with me now. I'm like, man, no way. You're too strong, buddy.
Really?
Too strong. He's a strong kid. I can still take him, but he's still strong.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Soon he's going to be like,
oh, forget about it.
Come here, Dad. Come here, Dad.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Man. Yeah. That's great, man. I can't wait to see him play in high school, man. But
yeah, me neither, man. It's going to be fun. Yeah. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, man. So, Eddie, man, we are here to talk about your newest endeavor.
Yeah.
Your newest project, right?
Yeah.
Canyon Brewery.
Yeah.
And man, so what's going on with Creek and Canyon? Let's go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
Take us through the process of how this came about. This whole process, this whole endeavor, this whole idea, man. How was it spawned? Take us back.
Well, the first thing was, we as a family, I think we're kind of beer fans. I mean, we're not hard liquor drinkers per se. We're beer guzzlers, man, and we really just enjoyed a lot of different styles of beer, and we just kind of delved into all the different beer flavors and styles that we liked, and one of Tony's friends, actually, one of Tony's best friends, his name is Herbert. Herbert is a chef, and he was like, hey, you know what? We should try our hand at brewing some beer.
Shout out to Herbert, by the way.
Yeah, Herbert. Yeah, he's a great guy, man. But so we were sitting around and we were like, well, I don't know. I've never made beer before. I wouldn't know the first thing. You know what I mean? Like, I like to drink the beer. What do I know about making it? But he was like, no, we could figure it out. There's videos we can watch. And I'm like, okay. So like we did our first brew day about 2.5 to 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And so about 3 years ago, we did our first brew day, and we made a saison, and it's a French kind of dry beer, French style dry beer, which is
never heard of that.
Yeah, and it's one of Herbert's favorite styles, and that's why he chose that one, because he wanted to make a saison. But he bought the boil kettle and the mash tun, and we bought burners, and we had all this stuff that we never knew what it was, and we're like, wow, let's just figure it out on the fly. And 2.5 weeks later, after fermentation, we had beer. And we're like, oh god, like we just made beer, and we bottled it and everything. And it was crazy, right? It was a revelation. Like, we can make this? Like, yeah, for if after the most expensive thing you're gonna do, as any home brewer will tell you, is all of your initial costs for buying your gear. Right.
Okay.
I mean, you got $110 you can spend on an 8-gallon boil kettle, and then another $115 on a mash tun, and then you have a couple of what they call carboys, where you're going to do your fermenting, and there's a lot of little pieces that you have to acquire to go from grain to beer, right?
Okay.
And so there's all this equipment you have to get, and that's where your most expensive initial cost is going to be as any home brewer. But after that, you go, 2 weeks later, after you've done your pilot batch of beer, and all you're going to buy is your grain. You're going to buy your ingredients. You're going to buy your grain. You're going to buy your yeast. You might buy a little bit more sugar, or for bottling. And you're going to buy some more hops, and that's going to total, I don't know, somewhere in the ballpark of $35.
Wow, really?
And $35 will get you 5 gallons of your favorite craft beer.
So Eddie, if you could back up a little bit. So the initial cost of all the equipment.
Yeah.
What's the overall investment there? Just the initial investment.
I would say you're going to spend a good $500, $500 to $600.
All right.
But what we did is we split that cost. There was me, Tony, and Herbert, and we split that cost among the three of us.
All right.
And so, I bought the mash tun, Herbert bought the boil kettle, Tony bought a couple of carboys, and it was like, okay. So we kind of collectively decided that we were going to buy, all this equipment.
Right.
And that's what we were called together. We were called Creek and Canyon. Gotcha. But then, as time went on, we just kind of figured, well, we weren't really going to be able to stay together, just because Tony went on with his career, and Herbert got another job, and Herbert is now doing home brew on his own, with his own whole home setup. And they allowed me to keep the Creek and Canyon name, because what I was really interested in, more so than making the beer, was the ingredients. Like, that's what really got me interested.
Really?
Yeah, because like I'm not very good at like deciphering tastes and stuff like that. I'm not a cicerone. The cicerone is like the the equivalent of a what is it called? A sommelier for wine, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
there's a sommelier for wine, and if you're a sommelier, you know all these flavor notes that come in wine. Well, cicerone is the same thing for beer.
Well, I'm getting an education here, man. I like these new terms, man.
Yeah.
Cicerone.
Yeah, Cicerone is so I'm not very good at that, but Herbert is. Herbert is much more advanced palate. He's a chef, like he can figure that stuff out. But I was more like really enjoyed the process of making it. For me,
Gotcha.
the ingredients, the machinery, the timing, all that stuff is what I really liked.
Gotcha.
So really, what I'm working on now isn't so much the brewing side as it is the ingredient side. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to turn Creek and Canyon into a artisan malt company, right? So malt is what you need to make beer.
Okay.
And so it starts with grain, right? So either you have a wheat grain or you have a barley grain, right? And there's beer that you can make from even corn, and there's beer that you can make from sorghum, because it's a grain. And basically what the process is you take this grain from the field and you cause it to germinate so that you make the starches inside the grain accessible to make sugars with. And then the yeast eats the sugars and it makes alcohol.
Wow.
So
that's how you do it, huh?
That's it.
All these years.
That's
what I've been drinking for 25 years.
Yeah, you've been drinking grass seed, basically, is what it is. and the hops, you hear people say, "Oh, the hops, this is very hoppy." Well, the hops is just a flour that that they used to put, and they still do, obviously, to put in beer to make it bitter and aromatic. And that's where you'll hit, your IPAs that are really hoppy. It's because they just put more hops in there. And there's a couple of different styles of hops that people use and people enjoy. But again, like I said, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, I really love the Citra hops in this, or I love the Centennial hops in here. You know what I mean? I'm not that guy. I'm just like, I'm more of a process guy, and I like to drink the beer. But
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, that's the IPA and the double IPA, and even now there's a triple IPA. It just means they just add more hops and just make it really, really aromatic and bitter. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun thing. And so then I started thinking, and Andy, you've been down to Mexico, to my dad's hometown of San Miguel de Pejan in Michoacan, right? A shout out to the little hometown.
¿Cómo están todos? Michoacán.
Todos por allá.
Saludos.
Saludos, San Miguel, Michoacán. But yeah, dude, like, so my dad has land, basically. I mean, there's really he's got farmland down there, and hectares of farmland.
Yeah.
That he right now he just mainly grows corn. And I asked him, I said, well, Dad, are these fields, usable for wheat? I'm a wheat beer fan. I love Hefeweizens. I love Belgian wit style beers. I like wit beers.
Gotcha.
And he's like, yeah, we've grown wheat here before. I'm like, oh, well, awesome. Let's give it a shot. And he's like, what do you mean? Let's give it a shot.
Ding, 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 ding.
I said, well, Dad, from all this stuff that you see me doing with the beers, we need wheat to make it. I said, and if we can get it in here out of our own fields and we can malt it, then we can make beer from that, and he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, it's that easy. I mean, we can do it. What's crazy is around the same time I was having that conversation with him, there was a major, major boom of craft beer happening in Mexico. I mean, for the past 4 to 5 years, Mexico has seen an incredible boom in craft beer making. I mean, and we're talking about companies that are supplying homebrew equipment now for the first time. We're looking at companies in Guadalajara who are making microbrewery setups for restaurants.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, what's happening down there. So all the major
Right.
cities now are starting to brew, have their own microbrew kind of boom happening. They're going to need ingredients, and
Yeah.
right now what's happening is the majority of microbreweries that are popping up in Mexico are having to import their malt
No
from
way.
Canada. Yeah, from Canada,
What?
from Germany and Europe. Yeah.
Holy.
And here's all this farmland in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Right.
And if we could be one of the first maltsters in Mexico.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
so we're looking to really launch that. Me and my partner is my cousin from my dad's side.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Juan Pablo, and he lives in Guadalajara, and so he's kind of my liaison in figuring all this stuff out as to see how the popularity of the craft brew scene is happening. But it's growing exponentially, man. It's big.
Wow.
And and so we want to be a part of it. We want to be down there while that's happening. So
that's awesome, man. I didn't know, like, what you were planning on doing with all the wheat.
Yeah,
if you're going to ship it back here, but now, it seems like it's going to stay there.
It's
right?
going to be Mexico focused, man. And if Mexico buys, here's the thing, we only did 1.5 hectares, which translates to about 3 acres worth of land, right?
Okay.
We did just under 5 tons of wheat.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I'm talking about prime, like fat grain wheat. And we did 2 styles. We did a dark, red wheat, and we did a white wheat, white grain. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our time and we're going to malt it, as best we can and make sure it's a good quality malt. And we're going to show it to microbrewers in Guadalajara to start. And we're going to say, this is what we can bring to you 2 hours away from this city. And think about supply chain. I mean, you're in control now. You can tell us how much you want and when you want it. And, who wouldn't want that deal?
Right. And then I'm shipping costs are going to be less for them.
Absolutely.
The accessibility for them, it's Mexican grown, and wow, that's great, man.
Oh, and that's the thing too, is like whenever you go to, just think about the next time you go to a brewery, Andy, and a guy says to you, "Hey man, check out this beer. I made it with this, and this," right? That's the story that each beer tries to tell, right? And that's how they sell it to you. Oh, well, this has this amount of hops and these hops in it, and this malt is from this region of Canada or whatever, dude. Like they might, if they think that they're going to sell you on a beer that way. But the fact that that a Mexican beer can say, these are artisan maltsters that are here in a small town in Michoacan that are just doing a startup. You know what I mean? Like there's a story in itself that beer is going to sell.
Oh, definitely, man. So,
yeah. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking at bringing that kind of attention to detail for because there's a market for it, and that's the important thing, is that there's a market for it, and we need to be in that market because we have a huge leg up on this.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we only did a hectare and a half, but collectively, what my Uncle Luis has and what my dad has, it's a lot more than that. They have a lot more land, and we can expand. Like right now, like I said, they're doing sorghum and they're doing corn. But if we took all that and said, okay, in the off season, all we're going to do is wheat and barley, and we're going to malt that. I mean, we could supply good sized breweries, not obviously not the big ones, but good sized microbreweries. We can sell a couple of them. So yeah,
well, you got
quite a bit of product.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, man.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're excited about that. That's the main focus right now for Creek and Canyon as to where we're going to take it. I mean, we might end up changing names because if it's a Mexican-based,
I was going to ask.
It's a Mexican-based company, then we'll probably end up changing it to something a little bit more appropriate and
Spanish
along the line with the story of the town where we're growing it. But but yeah, I mean, I think Creek and Canyon was just such a good starting point for me to really learn about this new thing, and it's a lot of fun, man. And I think that's one of the things that we talked about before, Andy, was you just really like doing these podcasts because it's fun. And it's something that you might want to do for a living because you enjoy doing it.
Yes.
And trying to turn that love for something into something you can do for a living, and that's the key, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, man.
So
Exactly.
that's the idea. That's what we're trying to do with this malt company, and just being able to be in that town and bring something back to that community, that small community, where we can possibly create jobs. I mean, that would be a dream.
Gee.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the plan, Eddie. I like all the the strategy and the ideas, the concepts, man. Everything lines up really well, and just
Mm-hmm.
the origins and it's a cool story already in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's a really cool story, and like you said, man, that story itself is appealing and entertaining. And
Well, I'll break it down to you like this. There's a brewery in Guadalajara that's called La Blanca, right? And La Blanca claims to be the first wheat-centric beer of Mexico. Well, wheat-centric means that there's not a lot of market for wheat beer in Mexico, right? They're not used to it. When you go to Mexico, you're going to drink Tecate, you're going to drink Corona, you're going to drink Modelo, you know what I mean?
Right.
These are the big players in Mexico. But when you get into the cities, they're drinking Delirium. They're drinking Stone Brewery. They're drinking craft beers from the United States. So the palate for beer is opening up in Mexico. I talked to my older cousins down there, and they're like, "Beer's not going to make it." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? It's a multi-billion-dollar, industry in the United States. It's huge. It's enormous."
Yeah. Oh gosh.
You know what I mean? What makes you think that once young people start to understand that there's more to beer than Modelo and Tecate, you know what I mean?
Yes.
They're not going to love it, And then, as a matter of fact, it happened. I mean, they've got a beer convention now, craft beer conventions.
Oh, wow.
They've got a beer fest that happens outside of Omni Life Stadium, which is in Guadalajara, right out where the Chivas play.
Mm-hmm.
They had a big old beer fest, dude, and craft breweries from all around Mexico have a bunch of little stands there, and they sell you their craft beers, and they show you what they can do. And this is one of them. La Blanca is one of them. German family moved to Guadalajara, right? And I think one of them studied there, must have, because she speaks fluent Spanish, but brings her family over to start a brewery in Guadalajara based on wheat beer. So they're making Hefeweizens, they're making wheat beers, they're making Heffeldunkels, they're making Dunkelweissens. I mean, these are all beers made from wheat only. And when me and Juan Pablo went to the beer fest, as a matter of fact, last October, we were there, and we were like, so where are you bringing your wheat from now? Because we were already in October is when we started talking about this project.
Okay.
And she says, "Oh, we import everything from Germany because Germany has the best wheat malt."
Wow.
And what's funny about that is, like, I've been doing some studying, and malt is important. Don't get me wrong. There's a theory of terroir, right, where it's like the wheat, the malt, the grain has a bigger impact on beer than people think. I don't know how true that is. I can just tell you that I've made beer with wheat malt that I bought in Mexico, and it turned out great.
Really?
And it turned out just as good.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So if we can control it and we can somehow make a good quality malt, we're gonna be in the game, and we can show them what we can do, and they'll be like, "Shit, we can buy it in Mexico now. Why would we?"
So yeah. Is anybody any of these breweries, these smaller breweries, or is anybody doing what you're doing now? What you're in the process of doing now? Growing wheat.
Nobody is making in Mexico. There is not a single field to maltster anywhere.
Really?
Nowhere. There's only a few in the United States.
Oh,
There's only
okay.
a few that do like their own growing of their grain and malt their own grain. There's
Uh-huh.
not very many. I would say there's a handful.
Is
Um,
that right?
yeah, most
That's
of the wheat, most of the grain that's coming, most of the malt that's coming to craft breweries is coming from Canada or from Europe. So
wow. I did
yeah,
not know that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
everything that we malt in the big maltsters here in the United States going to Mexico and going to Modelo,
Uh-huh.
those kind of breweries.
Yeah.
So there's malting on a huge scale. That's
Mm-hmm.
not who we're ever going to be, and that's not who we ever want to be. We want to be a small maltster that is supplying good
Yeah.
quality wheat and barley malt to craft breweries. That's what we want to be.
Right. Right. No. Wow, man, that's very interesting stuff,
Yeah.
man. You know.
Yeah, we
It,
enjoy it though because it's like it's the kind of deal where you're like, okay, this is the market. We can carve out a little piece of it,
yeah.
and hopefully it'll work for us.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, wow, that's interesting, man, because that nobody's doing that yet, and that here you guys are. I mean, on and let me ask you also, Eddie. I didn't mean to cut you off. Because I want before I forget this question: is the climate is it conducive to producing to growing,
Good
wheat?
quality wheat, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very good. As a matter of fact, we were extremely lucky with the weather that we got to grow this batch of wheat. I mean, the timing couldn't have been any better.
Wow.
And right before a huge storm hit, that wheat was perfect and ready to go. And my dad,
Mm-hmm.
with his connections, and this is what I was getting at before, is we have all the resources right there in that little town. We've got the
Right.
land, we've got equipment. My dad's got connections for the combines to come in and harvest it. I mean, they've set up a network already with their corn and sorghum. This was seamless, and it
Mm-hmm.
could continue to
Right.
be seamless. And all we need to do is outfit and retrofit some of the areas to hopefully someday contain a malting machine.
Mm-hmm.
If we do that, now we're producing malt at a much higher rate, where
Right.
we're going to be able to produce it much faster and supply more breweries. But that's the thing is like, and you were talking earlier about brewing. Well, if we become a popular malt, why wouldn't we make our own beer?
Yeah.
The next step, right? I mean, we're just going to make our own and sell it out of a pan,
Right, man. That would be awesome, man. So we're like talking about some pioneering type of stuff here.
It is, especially in Mexico, because it's not okay. I'll put it to you this way: my dad comes from a long line of corn farmers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in parts of Sinaloa, they're like tomato farmers. In parts of Michoacan, also they're avocado farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Every region has their specialty.
Correct.
Nobody really does grain. I mean, think about it. You look around. You got Zacatecas, who does a lot of cactus and nopales, right? There's also Durango, I think, does. Don't they have like orange groves and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Citrus groves. So
Citrus.
yeah, so they're very what do you call it? Like, it's weird to say, but patriotic to what they grow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They're not going to shy away from that. That's what they know.
They're loyal to that. Yeah,
it's their cash crop. So bringing
Mm-hmm.
this new idea from at the right time with my dad, where he was like, "Well, I'm not getting any younger. Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Louie's not getting any younger. What are we going to do with this land?" And if somebody doesn't take some kind of initiative to say, "Hey guys, look, we can really turn this into something we all dig,"
Yeah.
as opposed to corn and sorghum, which none of us know anything about. We can say, look, now we're going to turn this into a project where we're going to harvest wheat and make beer, and we can have our own private beer fest. And I mean, it would be something that the family could really get behind too. And that's important. That was the key, at least for me, is to make sure that the family is behind it. I don't want anybody, getting the idea that I'm going down there and trying to start something, that I'm not supposed to, or it's for the family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
and because we have a job, but at the same time, it's like if we can create something cool in this town that we love and is such a big part of our history.
Oh yeah,
well, why wouldn't we?
Definitely, man. And like you said, there's ramifications potentially for the economy, creating jobs, creating opportunity, commerce.
Did you ever see that little tidbit? Somebody did a report on it, Behan. Did you ever see that? It was on TV.
No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, there was a little report that somebody did on Behan about, because it's only a population of about 2,000, but it's like 80% women because the men always leave. The men go look for jobs. There's not a big industry there. There's not, you know what I mean? And it's like, and so like, this could be a game changer. This could be a place where people can stay and work and learn, and you know what I mean? And it could change the face of it. So that's kind of what the dream is. Obviously, that's the big dream. But for the beginning part, we just want to take one step at a time. So this is the first step: is we have some wheat, we need to malt it, we need to have breweries to test it.
Yeah. And this Juan Pablo
Magdaleno.
What's that?
Juan Pablo Magdaleno. Yeah.
Oh, your cousin, right?
Yeah.
He's I assume, I presume he has connections and rapport and relationships already with certain breweries or restaurants. Oh, okay.
He's a business guy, and as a matter of fact, La Blanca is one of the brewers he already went to visit and got some information and talked to them about. So they're probably going to be our main target, is to say, hey, look, you don't need to go to Germany. If you're going to make a wheat beer in Mexico, make it with Mexican wheat.
Makes sense, right?
Don't tell us that you're making the first Mexican wheat beer and all your grain is coming from Germany. That's a German wheat beer.
That's true. That's true, man. Jeez.
So we'll see, man. I mean, we're excited about the possibilities of it, and that's kind of the thing, right? I mean, if you got to at least have that vision, man, and just keep working towards it a little bit, chip away at it,
Yeah, and you've been in business, Eddie, a long time now. You've been in sales, you've been an entrepreneur, you've had your own business. So I'm sure that all those skills, all that knowledge is, you're applying it here in this project, this endeavor.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But yeah, man, I think when you start to, apply all that knowledge, man. I think it's like you say. I mean, again, the story sounds good already, man, and there's a plan in place, and I think that like you said, it's seamless. It's been seamless.
Yeah,
you got all the resources, you got everything ready to go, and you got the land. I mean, everything's lined up for you, man. So
we've got water, man. I mean, this little town, if it's rich in something, it's land and water. It's like, come on. I mean, the stars are lined up. Let's just, let's figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the next step here? So, we're May of 2020.
Yeah, so we're looking hopefully by May of 2021, right? I mean, we have about a year before we actually would need to have a product to sell, right? So for the batch that we made here, this pilot batch of wheat that we grew, and we're going to malt, is going to be strictly for beta testing. We're going to send it out to breweries and say, hey, make a batch of beer with this. If you like it and the beer comes out to your to your specs and your specifications and you dig it, we can take an order now for next year.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the idea. The idea is we need to show them that the malt that we're making is quality. Because there's going to be a lot of skepticism. Oh, your malt won't be as good as the German malt, or your malt isn't going to be as high quality as a Canadian malt. Whatever the excuses might be, we have to ease their fears and say, no, we're going to do a high level of quality assurance to make sure that our malt is comparable to their malt, or why would you even bother?
Exactly.
So that's kind of the key, is if we don't produce a decent quality malt, then we're going to be behind already. And that's going to be our next step, is to make sure that we do the right steps to produce a good quality malt on this test malt, send it to breweries, have them make a beer, and hopefully from there, they would want to place an order for the next season. Where we can actually figure out how much we'll need based on orders, and then boom, we'll malt it and send it out to them by next year.
Wow. Yeah, that's great,
idea.
Man. That's the idea for sure. Yeah. For sure. You know, I don't know if you saw my episode about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had
Dallas something.
Yes, Victor Santana from Dallas Beer Talk. Yes, Dallas, exactly. And he's heavily into the beer scene in Dallas, and the community down there. A lot of microbreweries, a lot of restaurants, and he's really, really into that scene. He talked a lot. You know, he and I think with him, he said that he's more into the beer tasting. You know, he could tell. He'll tell you, you know, it's hoppy, or he'll describe he'll get real technical with the beers, you know, and which is really cool, man. I don't know if you saw that episode, but and here we're talking beer as well, and you're giving us a kind of a behind the scenes of a different process, of a different aspect of it, you know. But I think it's really interesting, man. The beer. Every beer has a story, you know, and it seems like here in Southern California where we're at, you're seeing a lot of these breweries popping up now, man. It's
we're the Mecca.
Crazy.
I don't know if you know that, but
I didn't know that until Victor told me that a couple weeks ago.
The Mecca, man. We have, I mean, I don't want to talk out of turn, but I don't know that there's another area in the country that has the amount of breweries that Southern California has.
Wow.
You know, one of the things, like we went to Anaheim, and in Anaheim you can go in like 1 square mile, 5 breweries, 5 microbreweries. You got Brewery Tarot, which is part of The Brewery, which is in Yorba Linda, but Brewery Tarot is closer to Anaheim, and there's like Asylum Brewing. There's an incredible amount just in Anaheim. And San Diego, forget about it. San Diego has even more. San Diego has an incredible amount. Golden Road is in Anaheim. Stone Brewery is closer to San Diego. They have a really great restaurant, by the way. Stone Brewery does in San Diego in the Arts District.
Okay,
it's in Liberty Station, and it's phenomenal. And hopefully, once they open this, the country back up, man,
I know.
If you get a chance, go to it, and you can take those. It's a whole restaurant, and they've got great food and amazing beer. But yeah, I mean, we are the Mecca, dude. You can throw a rock to a brewery right outside your house right now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know how many there were here, but Ontario has one. Chino has one.
Upland, I think, right? Upland has one.
Absolutely, man. They're everywhere. They're about to open one right here in Eastvale, right down the street from my house.
Jeez.
They're going to do a brewery because the New Haven community, where they've got all these new houses popping up, they're going to do what's it called? A shopping center. They're going to put a brewery in there. So it's amazing. Beer is a great thing. Everyone loves to drink beer, especially a good tasting beer. And you know what?
Yeah.
On the flip side, you make a bad beer, people will tell you now. People are going to pick it up. They're like, "Hey, man, bad beer. This doesn't taste like this, and this." And it's like, well, you know what I mean? Like, but people will know now if it's not a good beer.
Absolutely. So, even here in Ventura County, man, where I'm at, I can tell you there's off the top of my head 3 or 4.
Yep.
And obviously there's more than that, but
Jose's hometown, my brother Jose has in Lemoore, California.
Bird Street, I think it's
Bird Street. Yeah,
Bird Street.
Making great beer.
Wow.
And these are all guys that probably worked at a bigger brewery and thought, I know this, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they make a really great 4 or 5 taps worth of beer. Jeez. You don't need more than 4 or 5 great beers in a restaurant. Look, I started out this conversation by describing a saison. You don't know what a saison is. But you could probably go into a restaurant and order, oh, you know what, I'll take an IPA. You get a good IPA on tap with a couple of other beers, you're set, man, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
You know, that you can make a restaurant happen with that.
And that's seems like such a cool industry, man. Like a fun industry, man. I mean, obviously, it's socially based. It's party. People like to have a good time, like you said, man.
It's a marketing wet dream, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
I like that.
I'll tell you a quick story. Jennifer and I went to Firestone Walker Brewery, which is in near San Luis Obispo. Have you been there?
No, okay. But I know where it's up there. Yeah.
So Firestone Walker is this amazing brewery that makes 805.
Yes,
and I'm sure you 805 in your
it's big up here,
super huge. So you go in there, and the guy gives you this tour of this amazing facility, and they make these incredibly great beers. I mean, I'm talking about sours. I'm talking about shit that they ferment with Zinfandel grapes, dude. I mean, really, really awesome beers. Gosh. Then he takes us into this huge room where it's completely and only dedicated to 805.
Really?
And he says to me, 805 is a good beer. He goes, but it ain't even our best beer. He goes, it's not our best beer. He goes, it's a good beer, not our best beer. He goes, but the marketing and the box is cool. So it sells. It sounds like crazy because it's like a black box and it says 805 in the white script.
People love it up here, man.
There's of 805 on the back of trucks down here, and it's not even local beer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like they marketed it so well that it has its own wing of the brewery dedicated to 805. And it's not even their best beer.
That's awesome.
They have an amazing lager. They have an amazing IPA, a hazy IPA. They have these amazing sours and but 805 is the one that made them buckets of money.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you market it well enough, you'll be all right.
Exactly. It's marketing. I mean, it's key, right? I bet you they didn't know it was going to hit like that, and
they really didn't. The guy was like, dude, we didn't know how popular it was going to be until it started flying off the shelves. We could not keep store stock. And this was the head of production who gave Jennifer and I a private 2-hour tour. It was fantastic. We loved it.
That's awesome, man. Good stuff. What's that? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in this industry, there's a little bit of everything. There's marketing, there's, product, there's equipment, it hits on every part of business, man. It really does.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah.
There's a brewery in Redlands, Hangar 20 or Hangar 24. Hangar 24. Yeah. I remember when they first came out.
Does wheat beers. That's what made it big. They have a orange wit beer. And
yes.
It's a citrus-based orange wheat beer. And they do it really well, and it's consistent. And every time you order one, it tastes the same, and you know what you're going to get when you order it. It's what makes In-N-Out In-N-Out. You know what an In-N-Out burger is going to taste like before you bite into it. You want to know. People talk shit about Budweiser, but Budweiser tastes exactly the same.
Yeah, it does.
Every time you open it, and it's that consistency that sells. People want to know what they're going to drink, and if they like Budweiser, they know they're not going to get a bad batch of Budweiser because it tastes the same everywhere you go.
Exactly.
So, that's the thing, man. And Hangar 24 is one of those breweries that did it, and they did a great job, and they marketed it real well. And
it's out of Redlands, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember when it first started out, man. I want to say, I don't know if now, probably 10, 15 years ago, maybe, probably closer to 15 years ago. Out in Redlands, and I remember I love that. But I haven't had any in a while, but really good beer, man. Real tasty.
I bet
it's a citrus.
I bet if you did a quick search, Andy, and especially in your area in Ventura County or in there in Simi Valley, if you look for like an awesome like craft beer store, I bet you'd find a really great one.
Yeah. Oh no, they're
really explore different beers. I bet you'd have a great time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you know what? They're going to open one here in Simi Valley. It's been under construction for for a significant amount of time now, but everybody's waiting for it to open. And there's one in Thousand Oaks that it's called Tarantula Hill.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if you've heard of it. And say again?
A beer store or a brewery?
No, it's a brewery. Yeah, and they sell. They got a little restaurant going too in there, but they got all their all their brews, and it's only beer, man. I think beer and wine. They don't do any liquor in there.
Basically, that's what's happening in Mexico. I mean, we're getting a lot of guys that probably worked at these bigger breweries, and I know it happened big time in the northern part of the territories, where, like in TJ, people were coming down from San Diego breweries and starting microbreweries on the Mexican side of the border.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, they just started making some really great beers down there in Baja California and in TJ, and there's a really great beer out of Colima. It's called Colimita. Really good beer. I mean, very beers, man. And there's a really good microbrewery called Minerva in Guadalajara. They are very consistent. Been there for a long time. Specialized mostly in stouts, but very, very good. I mean, they do a good job. And Mexican kids and the young kids are starting to get it, figure it out, and they're partying with beer, where 5 years ago, they were on the track of hard liquor, just kind of always getting up bottles, But now it's like, no, it's craft beer. Like, let's get some good beers in here,
For sure.
So we want to be there in that market,
No doubt, Eddie. No doubt, man. I think the way you've explained everything, man, and everything's really set up for you to succeed.
I hope so.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see the process, man, firsthand, Just remember the little people, though, Eddie.
What we're gonna do? We're gonna do our first beer fest in Epejan, and we'll do a live remote.
Yeah, no, I'll be there, man. Screw remote. I'm gonna go to that festival. You know what I mean?
Do it, man. We'll do it right. It'll be a blast.
Yeah, definitely, man. But. And I think you got your logo all set up, right, for Creek and Canyon. At least for Creek and Canyon.
Yeah, we have a Creek and Canyon logo. It was actually mocked up by a friend of Herbert and Tony and I. His name is Brady. He mocked it up for us, and it's a jackalope, and it's kind of cool. We liked it. Yeah. We based Creek and Canyon off of Chino Hill stuff. We've got creeks and canyons and in Chino. And we were like, well, what about just shortening it to Creek and Canyon? But now we got to start over from scratch and name it again, because we're going to base it out of Epejan now, and we're thinking about what's special from that town that we can name it. So we've got some ideas, but we'll put it out there on our Instagram once we get it right. So
definitely.
Right now, you guys can follow us at Creek and Canyon on Instagram. Check out the Two Beans Quarantined and all that good stuff, and shout out to you, Andy, for real, man, because we talked about it on your last profile pod with Lily. Is you kind of got me thinking about doing a podcast and doing that with Lily, and so it's been fun, and I give you a lot of credit for that, because you got me on your podcast, and I was like, hey, I want to do that, so that was fun.
Oh, thank you, man. No, I appreciate that, Eddie. I appreciate that, man. And it's all about doing things that you enjoy to do, man. You enjoy doing, and I'm not getting any younger, man, and I want to explore those things that I've always wanted to do. I've always enjoyed acting and performing and be in this whole entertainment arena, how things get how things get produced, and I've said this before, how a song gets made, or how a movie gets produced, or a television show, or anything of where that requires an engineering, how something gets built, the behind the scenes of anything, but particularly for me, I've always enjoyed, performing in the arts and movies and music and these things. So, but yeah, man, I don't know if you saw Paul was on last week, man. He was
it was Zoetic, right, with the dance.
Yeah.
Great.
So he's been very inspirational to us and to me myself, and for starting his business, and now he's got his, I don't know if you heard, he's doing his little woodworking venture that he's gonna do, and that guy everything he does turns to gold, right?
He's good, man. He broke down the carpentry thing and figured it out.
He's good, man. Yeah. Seriously. He's always got some kind of project going, and like you said, man, you figure you do things that you enjoy, and you figure out a way to make a living on it or to capitalize on it, so why not? You enjoy doing it.
Absolutely.
And, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man. So,
nope.
Eddie, but man, I am gonna. There's lots. You gave me so much to think about tonight, man. So much to chew on. I'm sure the folks at home have the viewers here have got some insight, man, because you really educated us on the process of beer making, just different avenues, the things we don't really talk about, the beer making in Mexico. I mean, I don't know anything about that, so that's a whole new world that you're shedding light on.
Had I not been down there and seen it for myself, I probably wouldn't have had that idea, man, but it all kind of came together all at once.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hey, before you go, Eddie, I'm going to check out those latest episodes of Two Beans Quarantine.
Yeah, check them out. They're fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, check those out. Before you go, Eddie, let us know where we can find you, man. I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit ago, but go ahead and plug.
Yeah, so at Creek and Canyon on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook page set up for that though, but you can follow me at Eddie Perez on Twitter, Facebook, all those social media sites. But check out the Two Beans Quarantined on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. I think is pretty much we're there. So check it out. Lily and I have a good time breaking down the week of being quarantined, and we have last week we played a quick game with Tony, who was on, and so we just have fun and we break down the week. But for those of you guys who want to follow the Creek and Canyon story, check it out on Instagram. We'll add more stuff as it happens. But right now we're still inching our way towards some success, so we'll be there. Absolutely, Eddie. And if there's anyone I'm going to bet on, man, if I'm a gambling man, I'm betting on you, man. So, so, appreciate that. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have Mr. Eddie Perez of Creek and Canyon Brewery. And who knows, it might be a different name in the future, but right now he's Creek and Canyon and Two Beans Quarantine podcast. Check it out with Lily, his daughter. So he's got a lot of things going on. Thank you, Eddie, for being here, bro. As always, man. You're always welcome back. And hopefully I can get on your show, man. With you and Lily. We're gonna have you on for sure. We're gonna do that. We're gonna put that together. We need to. Absolutely, man. I am looking forward to that. Like I said, I haven't been a guest on anybody else's show, man. I am scheduled though, Eddie. I am scheduled. I'll tell you this. I am scheduled. Yeah. To be on somebody else's for the first time. Yeah, on May 29th. So just putting it out there. I don't know. Maybe because you mentioned you wanted to have me. Who are you the first to host me? Yeah. No, but who are you going to be? You're already on somebody else's podcast? Not yet. I am scheduled. I'm scheduled for May 29th. Oh no, we'll get it before that. So yeah, I'm just putting it out there, man. No, but I only need one more to be a 5-timer on your show. That's true. My 4th time. So. Jeez, you're super versatile, man. I mean, you've been on this twice already. First time on YouTube, but second time on Profile Pod. Yeah. 90s Galore. You've had several appearances, man. So I think you're one more. You are the 5-timer, first 5-timer. I got to get on. I got to get on the podcast again. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'll start a new business if I have to. Yeah, exactly. We'll find a way to get you on, man. There you go. Or something, man. And but yeah, thank you for being here, man. Thank you. Always, man. Always, and we'll be in touch soon, as always. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have Eddie Perez again from Creek and Canyon and Two Beans Quarantine podcast. Check him out on Instagram. Check out his podcast.
on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all the platforms, all the major platforms. So, as for myself, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this is usually we record live on Thursdays, but tonight is a special night with a special guest, and this is a special episode. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you again this week. Today is Sunday. We'll be back on Thursday at our regular time. So don't forget to subscribe to Profile Pod TV here on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Profile Pod TV. Or at 90s Galore. And if you want to be a guest on the Profile Pod TV, hit me up, shoot me a DM on Instagram, shoot me an email. Would love to have you on. If you're an actor, musician, you have your own podcast, your own business, we love to get you on and promote your whatever you got going on. So let's help each other out. Let's continue to grow our businesses, our endeavors, entrepreneurship. And man, that's what it's all about. It's all about, man. So again, thank you so much for being here. Eddie, again, thank you so much. And we'll see you soon. See you guys this week on Profile Pod TV. So always remember to take it easy.